In this pilot episode of the Nap O They Own podcast. Now, one word I want to talk about right now is domesticated. Domesticated. Now, I read somewhere in the internet, there's this article, it says, why are cows stupid and dumb animals? And there was a discussion there in the comment section. It says that uh, cows really are not, by nature, they are really not dumb and stupid. It's just that they were domesticated. The original wild cows, the original wild cows, like its ancestors, were actually strong. You see the horns, right? Cows have horns, so it was meant to hurt, meant to be strong, meant to defend, right? You see the horns. Cows have horns, and by nature, their ancestors are strong, fully built, strong, muscles, beasts. These were beasts. But over time, they were domesticated by humans. Humans took over them and domesticated them, made them weak and dumb creatures that we know right now that we just consume, we just take advantage of. No, back when I was working in a law firm, uh, my boss and I went on a trip somewhere in Western Mindanao. We had we had to do something there, and it was a long drive from home. It was a long road trip. Uh, the place is very far from where we are, uh, so it's like traveling from the east to west, like several hours of travel. And along the way, most of the roads are in the provinces, in the rural areas, and the whole time for most of the trip, most of what I see on the road, on the sides, are the rural areas, the provinces, goats, and cows. There were always cows on the road, grass and cows. And then when I saw that, it got me thinking. It went back to that thing that I read from the internet about cows. I remembered suddenly. Suddenly, it all came back to me. That one article in the internet that I read about cows. Suddenly it came back to me. You know, like a eureka aha moment. Ah, wait, I remember something. Then it came to me. For like suddenly I remembered it. Cows, cows, and domesticated, domesticated cows, and it really got me thinking. Then I told my boss, "Hey, we keep seeing cows on the road," and I just thought, like, it's because I read something. I shared to this boss of mine what I read in the internet about domestication. The cows were wild, and then fast forward in the evolution, they were domesticated by humans. Then I told the boss of mine, I was like, he got me thinking, hey boss, don't you think, because I just remembered this story about cows being domesticated, and it got me thinking, is it the same way with humans? And then he or she, I don't want to say it, he or she said, what do you mean? I mean, like, don't if if animals were originally wild and then they were domesticated, don't you think humans are also the same way? Don't you think humans are also have the same case? Like humans were also wild and then eventually they were domesticated? Think about it. And now, if cows were originally wild creatures and then fast forward through evolution, they were domesticated, that's why they became weak and stupid, dumb creatures. Although that's not how I want to say it, but that's just what I read. Don't take it as my words. Then, so yeah, it got me thinking. Don't you think it's the same way with humans? Like humans were originally strong and wild creatures, and then eventually they were domesticated. Over time, humans were becoming weak, or over time, humans were domesticated. Have you have you thought of that? Uh, like we always hear stories like back in the day, in the old days, when my great grandpa went into this war. He was a strong man compared to this generation. We only have a generation of weak men. Do you catch my drift here? So yeah, don't don't you think it's the same way with humans? Uh, Back in the day, humans were used to be strong, taking on taking on adversities, and then eventually they were domesticated. They were they were made they were emasculated. They were made to be weak. And specifically, do you think men, men back in the old days used to be strong, and now men of these days are just domesticated, emasculated? They were emasculated to become weaker. Maybe because the world wants men to become weak. Maybe because the government or the world or the people wants to make men weak, wants to emasculate men. Then this boss of mine, he or she, or whatever you call it, said that by domesticated. Now, those things that I've been saying, those were the things at the back of my mind. Now, fast forward, what he or she answered was like, by domesticated, what do you mean? By domesticated, do you mean that we are more educated? By domesticated, do you mean we are more civilized? By domesticated, do you mean that we are more systematic? And by domesticated, we are more like just being good people, good creatures. Is that what you mean by domesticated? Then I said, "Oh, that's a good perspective. It's good that you pointed that out because I haven't really thought of that. But I appreciate that you're offering me your perspective. It isn't really a bad. Actually, it's not bad. By domesticated, what did I mean, right? So yeah, it got me thinking. This whole time, running over the word domesticated, domesticate, right? I was thinking that us men or humans were domesticated to become weak men, to become weak humans. But by domesticated, you could also mean another thing, right? So I really like that he or she, this boss of mine, pointed this out. By domesticated, what do we mean? And it could mean so many things. But maybe I was just pondering on something on that. I was just pondering on this idea that men of today were domesticated, emasculated men because the world wanted us to be weak. That's what I was thinking. Then after the boss of mine said that, I didn't really bother responding. I didn't really bother going on with the conversation, going on with the topic. I didn't really bother continuing the conversation. It's just like for the rest of the time, I just spent that contemplating, meditating, or whatever, just running things over my mind because it's better to process your thoughts rather than just rambling on, right? So I choose not to continue the conversation because this boss of mine did have a point. I had the point, and and he or she or whatever she is did also had a point. So I'm not. s- I'm telling you all this not because I want you to believe this and believe that. It's just that I just want to put this on the table, making it something for an open discussion. Like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your stand? And have and then eventually have a healthy, comprehensive discussion. Don't you think? Anyway, I've been saying so many things this time, and yeah, I hope to see you in the following days, in the following videos, and we can have more discussions, talk about many things, and always keeping it cool. And thank you very much. Not bad for a pilot episode. And yeah, this is the Napoleon podcast, and I'll see you around. Ciao.